Hi, I'm Johnny from UltimatePaperMache.com, and yesterday I hadn't had any actual projects finished. I've been messing around rearranging things in the studio and in the kitchen and just didn't have anything done, but I really wanted to get my hands in some clay. So I decided to do something just totally for fun. I sculpted the Mad Hatter. I'm using this old drawing from the original book, and I decided I was just going to make a portrait of the old-fashioned Mad Hatter, not the guy from the Disney movie and not the new one from the scary movie. This is the old one. And I'm not going to keep it. I just did it really for fun. As soon as this video is up and online, I'll probably take that clay off and put it back in the bag. You can see it's already starting to dry and get a little bit cracked. I'll show them on this side. It's not. See, that's what he looks like on the other side. I did this yesterday, and let me show you how I did it. I wanted to add the brim of the hat first, just to show me where the face actually starts. I didn't want to add clay to the back of the head because I wasn't going to be sculpting that part. It's going to be covered up. So I turned my face sculpting form upside down and drew around it, and then I cut out the oval shape. I drew the brim and cut it out too, and then I stuck the whole thing onto the face form with some WED clay. It didn't fit exactly, but it was close enough. Now, I'm using the face form that I made several years ago. It's a pattern, and I made it waterproof with Flex Seal. I'm going to put a link to it down below so you can see how it was put together and how it was sealed. You obviously don't really need a special face sculpting form if you're just playing around with sculpting, but it did make it a lot easier. I didn't have a small enough foam ball for the eyes, so I used the smallest one I had and just cut it in half and then cut a bit around all the edges. It's not perfect, but they were going to be covered with clay, and I'm really just playing around, so they're close enough. They're held on with just a few small dabs of the WED clay, and just in case you're not familiar with that particular kind of clay, it's a wet clay like pottery clay, but it's made just for modeling and sculpting. You can see that he has no chin to speak of, but he's got a really big nose. So this guy does have a chin, but because of that nose and fairly big muzzle, I think we can pull it out so that this will look like he has no chin. I'm just going to put a thin bit of clay just to set that outline. If you've read my book, Make Animal Sculptures with Paper Mache Clay, or if you've hung around my YouTube channel or website for very long, you know that I use the silhouette pattern a lot for my animal sculptures, but I learned how to use basically the same technique from a guy named Adam Reeder. He had a really nice video about sculpting faces. I think he was a grade school teacher, so he explained it very simply and made it really easy for me to understand. Unfortunately, the only place you can now get his video, it was a floppy disk, and they're selling it on Amazon for like $300 now, so I'm not going to bother giving you a link to that. There is also an out of print book. I think it was the Barjansky method of sculpting by outline. I mean, it's also really expensive. But there is a person that I just recently found. Her name's Amelia Rowcroft. She has a really nice video on YouTube. I will link to that down below. And she's also got some classes that she has online so that you can actually learn from someone who really knows how to sculpt faces using this outline method. And it really does help. I'll put a link to one of Amelia's videos down below. I can't really recommend her online courses because I haven't had a chance to actually take any of them yet. But if you have, please put a comment down below and tell us what you thought of them. Pretty close. Okay, now I got something to start with, and now I get to just start throwing some clay on here. I'll go ahead and speed up the video now, so you can go ahead and turn on some music if you want to. I did spend a couple of hours, maybe 3 or 4, as a matter of fact, playing with this guy, but basically just throwing clay on where it seemed to need it. Like, he has cheekbones, as obviously shown in the form itself, so I gave him some cheekbones, made sure that the nose was wide enough to fit such a really big nose. He needed a lot of clay around the muzzle because I had pushed his mouth forward in order to give him not much chin. And so I just, basically just kept putting some clay on there. If it looked like it worked, I left it. If it didn't, I just kept pushing it around. And that's pretty much all you do if you're not doing it right. This is what you get to do if you haven't taken any special formal sculpting classes. You just get to go ahead and do it any way you want to, and stop when you think you like it. Now, even though this hat has a price tag on it, I'm wondering if a fellow who works in a factory making hats would be able to afford it. It looks like a pretty expensive hat. I got it at the wrong angle. It was up here. It's probably on backwards. Oh well, I quit. I like the fact that he turned out just a little bit lopsided. This side of his smile is just a little different from that one, which is perfectly normal for humans. And it gives him a little bit of character. I actually like it. I didn't do it on purpose because I couldn't see both sides at the same time. But I kind of like him. Probably not a perfect portrait, but I didn't have a whole lot to work with. But I still had a lot of fun with him. One thing that I had to think about is that there's a real difference in how we act now than what they did then. The fact that this guy was actually injured by arsenic poisoning at his job is not very funny. But he ended up as a funny character because of that injury in a children's story, and I can't imagine doing that now. Can you? And yet, it's a really good story. And you made a great character, and I had an awful lot of fun putting this sculpture together. So now the clay goes back in the bag. The weather is actually supposed to start warming up. I might actually get a project done, a real one, next week. So be sure to look for that. Come visit me, ultimatepapermache.com. I'll see you there.